What, did we freeze?
I must be frozen for you. It's almost there. There we go.
Okay.
We are unfrozen.
Caught up. We are, yes, I was frozen, but also now it's time to let it go. Let it go.
Don't do
Let
that.
it
I was going to say
go.
something worse. I was going to say we're thawed out like a bag of peas. Here we are. Green peas.
I was thinking of let it go because we are officially wrapping up our month of February. And so we're going to let it go. But there's so many little connections here. There's so much to talk about, Lauren. We're coming off of this like incredible interview that we had last night with Dr. Columbus Batiste. And it was just such an amazing experience. That episode is already live. If you haven't heard it, please go back and listen. It was spectacular. And we were so grateful to him for just being his awesome self and sharing space with us and conversation. It was just, I'm still glowing from it.
Well, it was fun and it was learning. And I think that even for any of us, even working in the lifestyle space and being teachers or coaches, or how we work with people as motivators, that to talk to someone from his angle, not all of us are in the same position to care about what we do. Mm-hmm. Some people care a little bit more about their physical fitness, or they're caring more about their heart, or they're caring more about preventing diabetes. I mean, we all have our goals, but there was so much about what he said that works in multiple ways. I really appreciated the silliness that we had, the laughter that we had, and in particular, the conversation about stress, and that it is a big deal. That encouraging those of us here together right now to think for a minute about how we can do something about our stress levels, because it's so important to take charge if it's getting out of control. And there's nothing like recapping all these little tidbits and information nuggets that we have over the course of an entire month to be reminded of that. And in fact, on our blog at greenglowlifestyle.com, you are going to find recap notes, and you're also going to find Kylie's recipe. What was your recipe called? Thai?
That was the Thai curry soup.
The Thai curry soup. So Kylie's Thai curry soup is on the website. Mm-hmm. So you can go ahead and listen to Dr. Batiste all over again while you're making Thai curry soup.
Oh my gosh, what a dreamy night that would be. By the way, you just announced that our website is live. greenglowlifestyle.com is alive. It's pretty. It's beautiful.
I love it.
It's just exciting. You know, in the previous episodes, you've mentioned that this is coming. So it's officially live. You've worked very hard on that. So thank you, Lauren, for bringing it to life. Great job.
Thank you for letting me do it. Yes, I can design a website now.
Yes. Well, we're learning all sorts of new skills here. You know, we are doing all of our own editing. We're, doing so much and learning, getting such an education about this whole process. And, you know, even like now our podcast is now live on iTunes, which is super exciting. That took a little minute extra. And we are building a YouTube channel. So we are going to come to you in all forms. And it's just exciting to see the growth. You know, we're on this journey together. And as a listener, you know, we appreciate you tuning in and being part of this journey with us. And we'll keep updating you as things are growing and changing, or we've got new people to introduce to you along the way.
Mm-hmm. Being thankful to our friends. I just have to, shout out to all of you who have been so encouraging and sent us messages. Kylie's turned her entire neighborhood into kind of this Green Glow hub. Sounds like.
So true.
What did you say? You are on the board of the neighborhood? Is that what you were elected?
President.
The president.
I'm not only on the board, I'm the president of our neighborhood association. That's right.
Of course you are.
My mission is to, well, I don't know what my mission is, but I mean, we've got neighborhood goals, right? And we've got some things that I have to kind of oversee now, but we have a very active board and it's a lot of fun. And actually what I really want to do is get a playground in our little park. We have a little park, but that's a slow roll. Like, I'm like, we kind of need a little playground there for the kids. There's a lot of kids in our neighborhood now. So I think that would be really fun. But yes, I am involved in our neighborhood and also in recruiting listeners to the Green Glow podcast.
Yeah, it's great. So we can feel the love and the blossoming of this community. And that's exactly what we hope for.
My neighbors are amazing. Thank you guys for listening. I love you all. That's the thing. Like, I think, for me, having a community, having people to share this experience with, having you to share this with, this is part of our self-care, right? Is having the foundation, the community of people. I finally feel really grounded and in a place where I can start to put some roots down And that feels really nice too. It's a whole different experience. And like I said, I'm very grateful and blessed to have some incredible people around us that we've managed to start forming community with. And that's been just fun. So, good to play where you live and, have people to hang out with and with kids. And it's just, yeah, it's been really great. So, yeah.
Yay. Go team on that one.
So, yeah. But yes, with the interview with Dr. Batiste, we also introduced a new feature for our podcast, which is called The Green Room. And I am very excited about this. That was a great idea. It was Lauren's idea, The Green Room. I thought that was such a smart little play on our green glow here. And when we bring our friends on and our guests and the people that have inspired us and are inspiring others, around the world, we are going to put them in the green room maybe eventually we'll end up with like a background or something that they can sit in front of that's green background.
Well, when we get on YouTube, I know that we're not just going to be like in the future here looking backwards, but you are literally sitting in a green room right now for people that can see the color of your minty green walls.
Minty green, yes.
Yeah, that's become great.
Our flavor.
It's become symbolic too, this minty freshness that's going on, because we're definitely feeling it. We're motivated, we're excited. And we'll tell you, after we wrap up Heart Health Month here on this wrap, we're going to talk about something else related to broken heart syndrome. And then we're going to get you excited for March.
March is going to be great.
Ooh, March is going to be something.
But first, Lauren, I have a very important question to ask you.
Oh boy.
What is the song that gets you on the dance floor?
Come on.
I know. I think we've now put it out there.
I don't have one. I mean,
it's hard to pick.
It's easy. It's easy to get me dancing. It really is. If I hear some kind of blues rock, that'll work for me. If I hear some kind of electronic dance music that has just the right beat, I am so there. So I can be a little rave girl at any minute in time.
Yeah.
Or I can get out there to AC/DC. It could be anything. Well, not anything. And I'm not gonna give that one up. For people that know me, they know what that means. But because I can be kind of a music snob at times as I'm looking at my 45 different playlists. But that is such a hard. I wish I had a simple answer. See, I can't even think straight.
I know.
I'm all over the place.
I just felt like, if we're going to put together a Green Glow playlist, we should have songs featured on that list as well for the get up and dance.
It will come. You know, a song I was listening. Oh, you know what you got me to do? You had mentioned Britney Spears a couple weeks ago as like, Britney, you can work out to Britney Spears anytime you want. And it kind of I hadn't listened to Britney Spears for fun for a very long time. And I couldn't help it when I was at the gym. I was like, let's just, get it's Britney, bitch. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I was having a good time. And there's another song. I don't know if anybody knows Dev, but Dev she kind of did her own thing for a while. But she did that song that's, I like my beats fast and my bass down low.
Okay. So you're just rocking.
That's like when you have a moment in the gym and you don't care who's watching and you're going to start, you got a different swivel in those hips on the stair climber when that song comes on. That's important. That'll get you going. So anyway, that's my answer. It's not an answer.
I should have warned you in advance I was going to ask that question, but I thought I'd sneak it in.
Okay. Do I get to clap back at that? Do I get to ask you the same question?
Sure.
Kylie Buckner, what song gets you on the dance floor?
Well, Dancing Queen. Every time. And I have to tell you, when I was in college, my roommate, who is still my best friend, she and I would just rock out. She actually had a record player with ABBA, with an ABBA album, and we would put that sucker on and rock out to it. And now it's come full circle because that's like one of Indigo's favorite songs too, which is great for me because I've loved that song for my whole life. So I just love to spin, and it just is such a fun song to I feel like get into that like feminine flow, like dancing and spinning and just good crescendos in it. It's just like, it's a good performance song.
And that's your household song.
So good.
And then Cher. I got into Cher just recently because she was on Saturday night's SNL's 50th anniversary. And I did not know that Cher has been 30 years dairy-free and a vegetarian. And she talks about it related to her longevity.
Mhm.
And I was getting into Cher in that moment. Yeah, I had to go back and
She's incredible. I mean, just looking at her, you would never, I mean, it's hard to imagine that she's in her 70s and so viable, so, vibrant, just such a beautiful woman. And that was just really incredible to see her.
she must go to the grocery store in that cat suit, in that lace one piece, because she
I hope
can.
so.
So why not?
I would,
79.
yeah,
She'll be 79 in May. Let's put on our lace
79.
cat suits, ladies, and hit Trader Joe's.
My gosh. Okay. That is the challenge. Pick out your cat suit now for when you're in your 70s and you're going to be rocking it at the grocery store. I think that is a great goal.
Leg warmers.
I told you before, I want to become like a competitive athlete at something in my 70s, and like I'm prepping for that as a pickleball player.
That's the
Like,
secret. Yes, the Senior Olympics is your
yes,
long-term goal.
I feel like having goals for your 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond is like where like we're at right now, right? Like let's see, like as a 45-year-old woman right now, like at this moment, I feel like that's where I'm going to really shine as an athlete in my
Your
70s.
golden years are going to be
Yeah.
you're going to peak at the Senior Olympics.
Gold medalist. I see it now. Put it on
I'll be there. Yeah.
in your cat
I'll
suit.
be a cheerleader. I'll be a cheerleader.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah. So
Unless, of course, Dr. Batiste and I are challenging each other over on the
to a
sidelines.
spin off.
Uh-huh.
It's true.
Yeah, we'll be on bikes that don't move on the sidelines while you guys are playing pickleball.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm
Unbelievable.
dreaming of like a ranch or something that I can have this whole space to create that happening in our backyard.
No. Okay, this is
Yeah.
what happens. This is what
Yeah.
happens. Is this what happens
True.
when you eat a lot of plants? Do you just start dreaming
Yeah.
and you can't this is what I think this is what a nutrient-rich lifestyle does to you. It gets to your head sometimes.
That's right. Exactly. Girls can dream, can't they? Well, we've already covered a bit of ground here in terms of looking ahead in our future. That's very far beyond. Right now, we still have to stay present in our wrap up of February, looking behind a little bit. We've taken away so many amazing gems in terms of, preventative heart disease, prevention of heart disease, helping ourselves to thrive in the future. I mean, what Dr. Batiste was talking about, like the time traveling doctor, coming back from the future to say, hey, like start taking care of your heart now. Act like you have heart disease so that you take care of that body of yours now. There's so many great takeaways from this month. And hopefully you've felt inspired to do something maybe a little bit differently this month. I know that the soup has been on request a few times. So I've gotten to share that recipe with a few people personally. But one of the other things that really was such a big highlight of our conversation with Dr. Batiste was the stress impact, right? The chronic and sort of direct impact of stress in our lives. And, there's so much to take away from that conversation. But one of the things he brought up was this idea of this broken heart syndrome, which is a real thing. And as it turned out this past week, funny enough, I got this article coming through my feed somewhere that was referring to this woman who had suffered with this broken heart syndrome. And it was after a very scary, traumatic event that had happened where she was watching one of her family members struggling in the ocean water. And basically, she ended up having heart attack-like symptoms that took her to an emergency room. And as it turned out, she did not have any blockages. She was not having a heart attack. But she had some biomarkers that were indicative of a heart attack. So it was like her heart was experiencing symptoms. She had changes in her EKG. She had troponin levels elevated, which is very common. That's basically a product that's released from the heart as a chemical signal when there's a sort of deadened tissue in the heart tissue. So like as the heart attack is happening, troponin is released and it becomes measurable in your bloodstream. And so these levels were elevated. She had the EKG changes. Her blood pressure was elevated. Like these are all symptoms of an actual heart attack, except that when they actually went in to go examine, there was no heart attack present on her MRI. So she was diagnosed with this broken heart syndrome. And Batiste was talking about resilience is sort of the counteraction to stress. It makes me think about the fact that when we are under a high degree of stress in our regular lives, and we don't have that extra room for resilience. One traumatic experience can lead to symptoms of a heart attack and potentially a full-blown heart attack. That's kind of this takeaway of this broken heart syndrome, is that women in particular tend to experience this phenomenon more than men. And again, when we look at building resilience, what are the building blocks for resilience so that we can prevent situations like this? We can prevent broken heart syndrome from happening, because that's scary. I mean, imagine this poor woman was thinking, and her family are thinking she's having a heart attack, and yet it wasn't, but it was still painful. She was having discomfort. She had an emergency room visit, like tests, lots of invasive procedures. And to know that it came from probably a buildup of sort of a chronic low-level stress, plus this one significant event that kind of triggered this experience she was having. And I think that's really valuable for us to remember, that we only have so much capacity for our physical bodies, only have so much capacity for our stress, right? And eventually something is going to potentially trigger it to that heart attack or that broken heart syndrome experience, right? And I guess the takeaway for me is, how do we become more resilient? We think of resilience in our mind, right? Or as a character trait, like, oh, I'm resilient. I can bounce back from a difficult situation easily, right? But when we think about our physical body's resilience, what are the things that we can do to build resilience in our hearts, in our physical hearts, in our tissues in our body? How do we keep them strong so that in the future, when there is more stress coming on, how do we have that baseline resilience as as a way of counteracting that stress? And that actually, funny enough, kind of is a really great lead into what our next month's topic is. Funny enough.
As you were saying that, Kylie, something really hit me, because how do we build resilience? Well, it doesn't mean that we eliminate everything that's hard for us. That's not what it's about. Something that is key for professional athletes or performance athletes, competitive, amateur to professional, anyone that trains for something, is the key is recovery. The key to better performance is actually recovery. It can happen while you're sleeping. The athlete that recovers more efficiently is the one who gains 3 seconds on their time. It's the one who gets a little bit faster, a little bit sharper. So how do resilience and recovery go hand in hand? How do we recover from the stressful moments? How do we break cycles? That's what builds resilience, is being able to recover from moments of acute stress, because we're always going to we need to be ready for acute stress. Acute stress is traffic. Acute stress is a moment where your child scares you, or your partner scares you. These moments that we have that we can recognize as, we can get over this and we'll be okay. What's the recovery process? What's the bounce back? And that's in the spaces where you set self-care time aside. That doesn't have to be hours at a time. It's being able to go, I need a minute to breathe. I need to have a room where I go for 30 minutes and nobody talks to mommy for a while. You have this conversation, this deal with your family, because that will support your heart. And what really kind of got me from the article also that I thought was so interesting is that the single incident that triggered this broken heart diagnosis for her was an adrenaline surge, but it was really based on this collection of emotional stress leading to a physical consequence. And the doctor in the article had mentioned that broken heart syndrome is a great example of the intersection between the two: emotional stress leading to the physical consequence. So recovery is how you build resilience. And Dr. Batiste's book, Selfish, what a great title. Oh my God, own it. I'm the first person to say I am so selfish when it comes to saying no to things I know are going to just stress me out, or putting up a barrier with like, not now, not today. I can't people anymore right now. Yeah, putting up that space. And I realize not everyone has that, but there you go. You've got some things to maybe go back into the episodes to listen to. And
for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who is having some aha moments in this series of episodes, or even this episode, and you're kind of curious to learn more about what you can do to take action, we have a friend who is starting a really cool program, and his name is Corey Warren. And he has been plant-based for many, many years. He actually is known in some circles as the lean green dad. He's talked a lot about plant-based parenting and how to introduce nutritious and fun recipes to your kids. And he actually helps support his parents through their health recovery by helping them adopt a plant-based lifestyle, plus introducing other lifestyle activities like exercise, like sleep improvements, reduction or building better resiliency to stress. And sure enough, his father had been diagnosed with heart disease and was on multiple medications, and he helped his father cut those medications in half, and he helped his mom achieve her best health and optimal weight. And as a result, he became really inspired to become a coach. He's now a health coach, certified health coach. And he is starting a program that he's really proud of that is called Heart Reboot. And it's a program to help you get yourself rebooted, right? His philosophy focuses on using simple mindset and lifestyle modifications for big changes in overall health, and especially when it comes to your heart health. The team together has been working, he's got an incredible team around him. I'm proud to say that I am one of those team members. So I have to say, this is a really great opportunity if you're somebody looking to, kickstart your heart health. It's a 12-week program, and he's got lots of great resources out there already. Check him out you can check him out on Instagram at Heart Reboot, and then the website is heartreboot.com. So, if that's something you're interested in or wanting to make some changes in a short period of time, he's your guy. Corey is your guy. And maybe I'm your woman.
Coach.
Together.
Yes, maybe you'll end up with Kylie. He's got a book, a discovery call, folks. So hop in there, and if you just want to discuss some things, if you've got family history that you're concerned about, this might be a great place to start, especially if you want to just have a teammate that can support you in stress reduction, because not everyone has that, and sometimes it's most helpful. Actually, I'm going to say most of the time, it's most helpful to look beyond your friends and family to have support for those kinds of things.
That is so true. In fact, sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's always great to know where your resources are, right? Maybe it's not today. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's down the road. Maybe it's for somebody you know or love. But, as we've highlighted here this month, heart disease prevention is possible. And, there's more you can do for yourself than you may realize. So if you need help with that, let us help you. We'd love that. I would love that. Love to work with some of our listeners. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we're here to connect also. If it's not us that's ideal for you, we have some people.
We know people who can be ideal. That's right.
Exactly.
So thank you for letting me share that. And also, we're transitioning now. We're making a switch. February's over. Hopefully the freeze across the country is moving on-ish somewhere in your neck of the woods.
Well, yes, as the northern representation of this duo.
Yeah.
We never speak too soon about March around here.
That's right.
We're looking up. We're hoping, because it's actually been pretty cold here since October. We've had some cold. We've had some talk about resilience.
Yes.
We have had some character building.
No kidding.
Up here in the Northland, I think. But yes, this is pitching us into March, which Kylie and I are calling Macronutrient Month.
Right.
Macronutrient Month. We are really excited about this. The subject matter is something we love because of the way we talk about it. And we are going to have a couple of guests this month that are above and beyond. These are stars that we're going to have on this month. And we hope to introduce you to these two stars. They're 5-star people.
They are 5-star people.
5-star people.
Yes.
Yes, they're fancy, and
very
we're excited about it. Yep, fancy, special. They have really great things to share. And in between, Kylie and I are going to get into carbohydrates, protein, and fat, the macronutrients. Water's kind of mixed into there too, but we're really going to focus on how we talk about carbohydrates, a few things about protein, because we can't leave that off the plate, the table. And fat certainly will be covered. And we are going to have a fabulous guest for more on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where do we even begin at this moment to tease you on?
Well, we're going to put them in the green room, right? We're going to have them in the green room, our new feature. The thing about the macronutrients is that they're talked about all over the place, right? From when you go into your social media feed, when you're in the grocery store, low protein, high or low fat, high protein, low carb, like you see this messaging about macronutrients all over the place. But the reality is that, does anybody really know what a carbohydrate is molecularly and where it came from? Or, at what point were you instructed about how food breaks down into these macronutrients? Where in the digestive process is a carbohydrate or a protein? And what does it look like on that molecular level? And then what is your body doing with those molecules? They all serve a purpose. Carbohydrate, fat, and protein all serve a purpose as different types of building blocks within our body. And it's just how our body uses it for things like fuel, for things like warmth and protection, cellular protection of our organs, or it's used as a structural building block within the tissues of our bodies. So those components of macronutrients are very important, and they're important especially when they're in the correct proportion. And I think that's such a big misconception right now is what are the proportions? What's the real truth about what proportion of these nutrients we really need in a day or a week or in our lifetime? And what happens when they're not in the correct balance, the way that our bodies are physiologically designed to use those nutrients, those macronutrients? And I think that's another part of this like owner's manual of our body that when I started uncovering and learning, I can say I started learning these things back when I was in nursing school. And I remember learning that, fat is actually more of a backup fuel source for our body. It's not really the primary source. That glucose, which comes from carbohydrate, is the primary fuel source for our body, for our brains, for our cells. We need glucose to come into our body. And that was something that was like kind of in a nutrition 101 class back in the 80s. So, we talk a lot about whole foods and the plant-based variety of foods, but the other thing that we're going to want to get into quite a bit is the refined and packaged foods, right? These foods that are not coming from source, not coming from nature. Like, where are they made? There's so much when it comes to the macronutrient, the labels and the macronutrient breakdown when we look at even nutrition labels from these packaged and processed foods, right? Gosh, there's just so much. Like you said, we love to talk. This is like Geek Out 101, like for me and Lauren, like we're very excited about this.
Yeah. And I think what it can come down to on relatability is that as a dietitian, I calculate, well, I don't want to say every single person I work with, because sometimes it's not a safe space to actually be looking at all these numbers really closely. And that's important to establish with everyone that you work with, depending on their health goals. But when I do work with active people, we do want to know, what's our starting point? How have you been eating, so that we know strategically how to shift things so that you get a little bit closer to what you want. People work with me usually because they're stuck. They've been trying things. Now they're a little bit stuck where they are and they want to move past it. So we always need to start with, well, how have you been eating? Let's log some things using an app that can give us some numbers around basically just how much food are you eating in calories, which is your unit of energy, but also the carbohydrate, the protein, and the fat. And this is coming up at a really interesting time because I have had a couple of clients recently who have been overdoing protein to the point of immediate intervention, immediate adjustment, extremely over consuming protein. And it looks to me that this was a direct influence of social media, and it was direct influence of people giving nutrition advice who have absolutely no grounds to be doing that. And as Kylie and I were talking about earlier, is that we in America seem to fall for everyone with a six-pack who has something to say about nutrition. We are visually inclined to believe someone who looks good, but AI could have made those abs.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that everyone who's fit is on social media and lying about it, but it needs to come, macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrates come down to a very individual measurement, and protein is precise. There is precision when it comes to calculating protein, and protein is a use it or lose it nutrient. I think this is the very first thing that people don't really hear, is that we do not store amino acids. They aren't sitting around for us to use whenever we lift a barbell. That's not how protein works. And protein also doesn't make the muscle. The work does. So if we're over consuming protein, what in the heck are we going to do with all the excess? So that's going to be a topic that we're going to dig a little bit into. And I work in a space where I'm really trying to carefully coach someone into reducing the nutrients they've been eating the most that they don't need, which is usually protein, and eating more of the carbohydrate, which is the nutrient we need the most.
Mhm.
And in our food culture of it's really where marketing is directing our choices, we live in a protein first, protein driven, protein profit society. We have
Mhm.
to unlearn that. It's really tricky. And I like to bring up also that I've been speaking this language for a long time. I learned about grams and macronutrients when I was a little girl. So my perspective on this has advanced over time. And I see it in this kind of layered. It's not just eating isn't just about taste. I really do see nutrition in this layered, complicated space. So when Kylie and I bring up macronutrients together, this might end up being a conversation that you haven't quite heard before.
It's very true. And, you do have a really interesting perspective, again, because your, blood glucose management is impacted by the types of macronutrients that you're eating. It's influenced by that. So you do have to be aware of the specifically carbohydrate grams that you're eating, because that's how you can safely dose your insulin. And that's what, we do here with, Cyrus every day as well. And so when you learn to interact with those nutrients in such a precise way, you also can see the impact of when those nutrients are in balance and you're getting the correct, that correct proportion of carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And it really is amazing what also goes along with we'll eventually get into the micronutrients, because I find micronutrient intake to be very interesting. I find the conversation around the micronutrients are the things like the vitamins, the minerals, fiber is not a micronutrient. Fiber is definitely a macronutrient. And we're not talking about that this month because we're going to have that saved for its own special feature. But these micronutrients that go along for the ride, again, the supplement industry really has a hold on the micronutrients as well in terms of, what you need to supplement every single day. And, there are certain micronutrients that are fantastic for your body. We do need the micronutrients as well. And what we're going to show over the course of the next month is how beautifully those micronutrients come along for the ride when we're eating whole foods that come from the earth. And the micronutrients and the macronutrients come in these beautifully proportioned packaging, and how any food you eat is not a carb or a protein or a fat. All foods have some proportion of all three of those macronutrients. And that's a big misconception. When I see a food that's labeled as a quote unquote protein, I know that that's not true, because there is also fat and carbohydrate to some proportion in that food. And the same thing with a carb. When somebody tells me that it's a carb, well, first of all, not all carbs are created equal, and we're going to definitely do a deep dive into that. But when I'm talking about a carbohydrate, maybe let's just say an apple, right? I think most people associate that to be a carbohydrate-rich fruit, which it is. But it also has a proportion of protein and fat. Like, that's usually very surprising when people put these foods into food logging apps and they say, oh, wow, I had nothing but fruit for breakfast, and look at that, I actually got some protein and some grams of fat in there. I wasn't expecting to see that, right? I thought an apple was I thought fruit was carbohydrate only. And so I think these are some of the things that we've seen and learned from our experience coaching people towards a nutritional strategy that really gives them the best of all worlds, right? Optimizing their health outcomes along with optimizing the nutrient intake. And that's, how I've come to see food is really about, how is this food going to fuel me for the next 3 to 4 hours of my life? And how am I going to optimize the nutrient intake in every meal that I make? And are there foods that I'm eating that may not have the most optimal nutrition? Yeah, sure, there are, because we're human in a human world. But if the majority of my dietary strategy is optimizing my nutrients, I can feel really good about the work that's happening inside of my body, at the cellular level, for the restoration and the repair at night, for the optimal sleep, for my optimal performance when I'm at the gym or playing pickleball, right? So I think there's so much to uncover from our experience and from our own research, our collective research that we've done on this topic. So it's definitely a topic, and hopefully you guys will stay tuned and stay with us, because like I said, like Lauren said, these guests that we're going to be bringing on, and we're just going to keep them teased for now. They are just so incredible, and we're very lucky to have them on, and they're bringing their wisdom and their knowledge with them. So I think you're going to learn a lot in Macronutrient March.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if anyone listening here can think for a second if the My Plate has been introduced to you, because currently this is how the USDA wants us to learn about nutrition, is to put this symbol of a plate in front of us that has 4 quadrants. That's fruits, veggies, grains, and protein. And it very clearly divides them up, changes them in a color, and then it has a glass next to it that just says dairy in it. And I'll tell you that this is how nutrition professionals are taught to teach the public how to create a balanced plate. This is also driven by industry. This is driven by business. According to me, dairy is not a food group. Dairy is a business. It is agriculturally driven. Beef might be a protein, but it is not a food group. So I don't know how dairy got the privilege of having its own little glass here. Actually, I do know how they did it, but that's beside the point. So when we really look at fruits, vegetables, grains, and protein, the thing about it is you could throw a loaded sweet potato on this plate without dividing it up categorically with some apple slices afterwards if you want, or a bowl of fruit. And you have hit every single one of these quadrants without having to divide it and think about your food separately all the time. This is one reason why plant-based nutrition can feel kind of overwhelming, is how am I getting everything when I've been taught to separate everything on my plate? Have a pile of greens over here, have a potato over here, have a big piece of chicken on one side. This is the thing that has been taught publicly to so many people, and wash it down with a glass of milk. And actually what you're probably getting just in that chicken alone with 4 ounces in milk is you're getting more protein than you actually can absorb in that one meal. And you're probably not getting enough nutrients as an antioxidants. You may not be getting enough of a range of vitamins from that meal in itself, because your vegetable portion is so tiny. A sliver of spinach isn't going to quite do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've really been taught in a way to create this separation, and it has affected our buying habits. And we don't really know the power of these macronutrients in themselves when we constantly learn how to separate food groups like this. And we're taught that that is how we have to eat all the time. No wonder so many people look at bacon and eggs as a complete breakfast. There's no wonder that this is what we've concluded, certainly in America, in the US.
Yeah.
In our food system, we have really been influenced by our choices. And Kylie and I are going to crack some of this open in March.
We sure are. Yeah. I mean, it's a topic we are well, like I said, researched in, and we are excited to share. We'll also happily share some resources that will support the discussions that we're having.
Well, we'll have a list of resources every single time we deliver any kind of information, or we're trying to back up what we say. Of course, we can have some research for you there. I think of it often as pcrm.org is always the first one that I'm going to throw out there. So that'll be on our notes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, every listener, we don't know exactly what your state of health is, right? So if your concern is cancer prevention, or it is diabetes prevention, or it is weight loss, we can send you over to pcrm.org, and you will have a range of information to choose from them. So if you really want to get down into the details of grocery lists and which foods are best for me, and what do I do about prevention, then that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
For example, today, that's one that we can give you, but certainly as we go on,
For sure.
we can lead you down the golden brick road.
That's right. Well,
to get resources.
One thing that comes to mind is that some of the things that we have come to find in our path and our journey is sometimes surprising or new information. And when we're getting new information, our brains tend to throw up the stop sign, right? Our brains are wired for the path of least resistance, and are wired to want to believe that the constructs around us are right all the time, and that, what we know to be true is correct. So if we're providing information that feels different, or like something you've not heard before, or is challenging some of your beliefs in any way, it may take time to digest that a little bit. And it may also help to be supported by additional resources, and that's also part of the journey, right? Is trying on things that do work. If you're somebody looking to make changes in your lifestyle already, actively looking for those changes, like that's great. But if you're one of my neighbors who's just kindly listening and you're like, wait a second, what is this girl talking about? No milk. Then, I get that. And we're just bringing things to awareness that this is a focus for us. And what we want to do is communicate how you can make these changes to optimize your long-term health, short and long-term health. So that's what Macronutrient Month is all about.
Yep. And it all falls into the pillars of lifestyle health. It falls into the guidelines that we're looking at for supporting our bodies to the best that we have in our power to do that.
Absolutely.
So with the macronutrients, they help guide us to those great choices. And we're going to have guests on that are going to give you more science as to why.
Yes, that's right. Can't wait for it. It's going to be a great month, and it's a long month compared to last month. So we'll probably get some extra special, maybe we'll make some special bonus content for next month.
Oh, no.
But we'll see. I know. You're like, what? You'll never know what we have in play. What we have stored here.
In the green room, what we have sitting in the green room are lots more ideas.
That's right.
All right, everybody, recap Heart Health Month. Go ahead, take a listen and see what you find out there. Send us your questions if you've got any.
Yeah, we'd love to hear them. You can email us. I'm Kylie at greenglowlifestyle.com. Lauren is Lauren.
The same thing. Lauren at the same thing at greenglowlifestyle.com. Yeah,
send us
check
questions.
out the notes.
Yeah, send us comments. Send us pictures of you eating your favorite smoothie or fruit. And we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.